Welcome back to Always More Line.
Check your notifications. Check your Facebooks.
Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
Dante, why do you always look so good? You look so good.
This man somehow got a haircut in a quarantine.
We have Jeff Gogates calling from Fairfield, New Jersey. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys.
So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing the last 15 days.
Well, I've really been trying to keep it together. It's tough. I have there's a lot of humans out there that are freaking out, and I get it. It's understandable.
Jeff, we're talking about you.
Oh,
tell us what you've been doing. Yeah.
Oh, me personally. Oh, yeah. I've been playing a lot of video games. I have beat 2 games.
What games?
I beat Pokemon Sword.
Okay.
And the only thing that's been driving me nuts, if you don't mind me talking about it, is I can't fucking evolve my Pikachu with my Thunderstone, and that's been a real big issue for me. Pikachu is very weak without the evolution process. His HP, his points are down, his defense is down. If you go and evolve him, his defense gets up, his HP gets up, everything gets up, so he's more useful in terms of the rest of the game.
So wait, you beat Pokemon and you beat, what was the other one?
Mario Odyssey.
So if anybody who's watching live, I'd love for you guys to comment below and just shout out some of the video games you've been playing and if you defeated any of them, any of the ones that Jeff described, and how quick you did it, because I'm pretty sure Jeff beat Mario in 3 days. So if you didn't do that, you're weak. And
baby.
You need to work on stuff. Jeff, thanks so much for calling in, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff. Hey, stay safe out there, man.
Anytime you want. I'm always available. My phone's always on. I love phones.
Welcome back to Always More Line, episode 2. We made it out of episode 1 alive. It was spectacular display of interviews and ridiculousness, and we are in episode 2. It's gonna be a little different today. We got some other things going on that I'm super excited about.
Right.
Wait, I have to vent for a second. Give me 12 seconds. On my Facebook today, my entire feed was made up of, I'm bored, I'm in the house doing nothing, so I might as well jump on the trend. Tell me the first thought you had first time you saw me play volleyball. And first of all, I gotta say this. I love every single volleyball player out there to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, yeah.
I hate that this exists, but I see why people are doing it. I understand that people are just sharing great memories, and I love that. I hate that my entire Facebook newsfeed today was filled with that. And don't be one of those people that's like, well, if you don't like what I'm putting on Facebook, then just delete me, because then I would have deleted everyone on Facebook today. I wouldn't have a Facebook. And then you're going to say, well, why don't you delete your Facebook? So maybe I should delete my Facebook, but I like seeing certain things. Just not your first memory of volleyball, me seeing you, because it's going to be bad stuff. Anyway, we're going to go through that tonight. Some of them were actually really, really terrible, and I can't wait to read some of them. And I'm going to give you my first-time analysis of some people.
Let's find some. Let's pull some up, and let's talk about them without any planning.
So in the meantime, we do have a question here. We have a question on Facebook Live. Somebody wants to know how many socks Dante's wearing.
Oh, Dante, you're getting called out. You don't got 2 socks.
No socks.
Prove it.
The first time the internet has seen these feats.
Damn.
Wow. You heard it here first.
Since we're talking about feet, if Chris Frazier's watching this, we got to talk about Chris Frazier's feet. Because, no, you know what? I'm going to let Chris Frazier come on here and talk about his own feet. Hopefully he sees this. I'm tagging him in this video. Shout out to Chris Frazier.
Dante, if I might, how come you wear 2 pairs of socks on indoor?
It originated from me skateboarding, and when you bail and kick your board out and land, your toes smash against the front of your shoe. When that happens, it starts to hurt your feet after a while. And I noticed when I started playing volleyball, I was getting the same thing happening to me when I started hitting back row. After a while, I actually get my shoes a size smaller and wear 2 socks, so my feet go nowhere landing on D balls. I know it sounds weird, but
you just want your foot to fit into your shoe like a glove.
Right.
That doesn't sound weird at all, Dante. You're a sexy motherfucker. You can do anything you want with your socks. Anything.
And also, it can't be more than 2 socks. Dante never does the 3 sock thing.
Dante has the right amount of socks, and anybody that says anything otherwise is fucking ridiculous.
Oh, Jeff Gogates is our guest host tonight. Yeah, I'm just gonna do one of those quick swipey scrolls, boop boop boop, and let's see what comes up here.
We could always have our guest host Jeff pick too. I mean,
No. Jeff's not getting to pick because he doesn't know most of these people.
I don't really know how to use computers, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know how to like scroll and stuff.
I just beat a video game in 3 days and I can't use a computer.
Yeah, it's tough.
Guys, I think everyone heard me and there's none left.
Do you remember? Do you remember who has posted that today?
Yeah, I remember a name.
Bez posted one today. I was like,
Bez posted one today.
Bez posted one.
All right. Bez Arslani.
When was the first time someone saw Bez play? When was that?
I'm gonna read them. I'm gonna read all of the 38 comments we got here. You ready? The first comment is brought to you in part by Jessica Crum, aka Crummy. He's super loud and crazy, but damn, he's a baller. Thankful to have been able to ball with you.
Actually, before seeing Bez play, I actually played with Bez. And the first time I saw Bez was playing with him at my first nationals with the GSA boys. And they were like, okay, these are your room assignments. We didn't play. We didn't warm up the day before nationals. And we came back, shut everything down, went to bed. Bez is a leg hugger. If you share a bed with Bez hugs you with his leg. And I woke up 4 a.m. with Bez, his right leg completely across my body. And I woke him up yo, dog,
That's awesome. I love that.
Nah.
Wait, I got a good one from Luca. Luca Terramino says, Superman socks with little capes? Really?
Yeah, I remember he used to wear those socks that was the Superman logo, and on the back of them, off your Achilles tendon, there's a little cape that would move when he ran and jumped. We're talking about him like he's dead.
No. Matt says, first collegiate game, watching Bez go through blocking warm-up. Matt thought to himself, what have I gotten myself into? Tony Segura says, this is an interesting one. Little guy, but big heart. Size does not matter. That's interesting. Now, what the fuck am I considered? A guy named Andrew Pyle, this one's great. He posted a picture, and he said, thanks for the permanent memories, and it's his pinky, because Bez broke his pinky.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wait, did this happen at Side Out? Because I remember
that Side Out. The guy's finger, he had a compound fracture, came out the skin. It was hanging sideways. Yeah.
No,
it came down from a block, and he's just looking at his hand. I don't know this guy, but I remember very clearly he just walked off the court. Wasn't distressed. He was chill as fuck. He's like, I think I can't play anymore.
And the last one we're going to say here is from Zach Sorensen. He said, yeah, six-pack! Because Bez used to yell that when he played for six-pack. I got to be honest, I don't remember my first impression of Bez Arslani. And I was the one who went to the recruiting trip with Carlo to recruit him. I don't remember anything. Like that stuck out. I do have a really good memory of Bez, though. His freshman year in college, we were on a road trip. We came back. We were starving, so we went to the diner right next to the school. It was around that time where everyone was daring each other to do things. We just dared each other to do dumb shit and that odds are game thing. Bez was he said something along the lines of yo, I love butter. And I was like, oh yeah? You don't love that butter enough to eat both of those full things of butter back to back. And he goes, easy. What are we betting? And I think I bet him $5 multiple times. And he chugged ice cream scoop sizes of butter 3 in a row. And he sat there. He sat there and looked like a cat throwing up a hairball for about 7 minutes and just tried to hold it together with his shoulders cramping in front of his body.
For $5?
Yeah. It was,
seems like a lot of torture for $5.
Bez regrets it to this day. I got another comment on here that just came in on Bez's page, and it's a really long one, and I love it because it has all of us. Almost all of us are in this. Ready? It's from Jackie. She writes, Nationals in Detroit, when you guys won gold, Dan McFadden and I missed our flight the next morning, but has a great time with Bez, Dante, and Justin, and Ryan as they're scrolling through your comments. So basically she was saying that she missed her flight with Dan McFadden and got to hang out with Bez in the airport. And that was the first time she got to meet him. And this is what Bez was saying to everyone, I'm the MVP. How come no one wants to dance with me? At the bar the whole night. I'm the MVP. How come no one wants to dance with me?
This is not a story about the first time we met Bez, but this is when, in that same tournament, I think in Detroit, right? We won men's A that year. We were in a hotel, and we had to get to we were getting to by walking through the hotel, through the floor of the, through the casino, through the floor of the casino. And we were just walking through all the machines and tables. I don't know whose idea it was, but it's yo, there's 12 of us. Let's all put 20 on black, all of us. And if it doubles, like our night's paid for, we're good to go. That's the extent of my gambling. Is like one roulette play and then I leave. I don't know who said it, but some idiot was like, double or nothing. And then everybody threw all their money back on black and we lost it all.
Quick.
Everyone was like, whatever, we won. And I'm looking around like, someone owes me $20. Like,
shout out to Katie Mitchell saying hi, dudes from Colorado. I'm assuming you're in Colorado, Katie. If you're not in Colorado, then you're probably home in Ohio.
Katie, we love you.
Either way, what's up, dog? Thank you. What's up, dude? Number 69. I hope that's a shout out to me, because if it's not, then I hate you, but I love you.
OJ just tuned in. What's up, OJ?
OJ needs to come on the show. We need to get him on here. Ian Capp is a setter at University of Keene, or Keene University, and actually decided to take this season off, which is now he looks like a brilliant mastermind because the season was canceled. We're going to try to get Ian on the show, actually, but he has 43 comments on people who remember meeting him or seeing him play volleyball the first time. So we're going to read a couple of these. What do you know? The first person is Jessica Crum. My immediate initial thought, I'm claiming him for all men's tournaments. Good move, Crum. He's a good player.
We've actually just got a really good question from the Facebook Live. David's asking, is this even going to be a thing after the quarantine is over?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Hey, listen, we got a YouTube page set up. We're going to do full episodes, more live videos like this. Probably going to do this for the entirety of the quarantine and hopefully after that. So, yeah, stay tuned, man. Come on the show sometime.
Does everyone know everyone's opinions on what they first knew about us?
No.
That's a good point.
I don't want to hear it.
Wait, Phil, you said
This is our show, damn it.
So besides that challenge, how does everybody else feel about these Instagram challenges? The 10 for 10 push-ups, the show me, I'm going to show you my puppy, I'm going to show you your puppy. How do you feel about that? Because it's getting a little out of hand.
Let me see your puppy.
Not one of them.
I don't got a puppy.
I'm guilty. I've been doing a bunch of them, so I can't really talk shit on that.
I mean, y'all can tag me in it, but I'm not going to do nothing.
I've done the puppy one. I've done game face. This friend of mine, like one of my brother's close friends, she's like trying to get me to do this challenge, and I hope you're fucking watching because I'm not doing it. She does a headstand and then sings a song from the 90s until she falls over. And I'm not doing that.
I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
Yes, but on your head.
All right, I'm doing it right now.
Do it right now. I dare you.
I'm
gonna tag her ass, that bitch. Just kidding.
Uh-oh. Here you go.
On the table's tough.
Yep.
I wish you. Yo, I lost all ability to sing.
Why?
Maybe that's what the challenge is about.
Maybe she pre-recorded herself singing.
No, she's actually like a good singer. I think she's just being an asshole.
Red Solo Cup. D, I want to talk about these challenges too, all right? Because there's two specific ones. Sometimes I just wonder. There's two specific challenges that I saw that were dumb. The first one was
That's how dumb it was.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out chronologically which one was more stupid. I'm gonna go with the. No, I don't want to say it because people are gonna get upset.
Do it.
So say
You're leaving us hanging here.
Is that it?
That's how you feel?
They're just getting way too much. Like,
I think some are fine. Like, come on, people having fun. Like, what the fuck else do people do?
Don't tag the same person 45 times.
I think if we're gonna do it, the challenge needs to be way more creative than do 10 push-ups.
Like what?
Well, like the handstand.
Don't encourage her. Don't encourage this
handstand
behavior.
and singing. I'm curious to see who can do that. That sounds fun.
Break my fucking neck.
I don't know. Break your neck.
I want to see who can jump out of a hot air balloon with Queen Latifah strapped to their back. That's the challenge I'm going to go with.
Is it the hot air Latifah challenge?
Yeah, it's the hot air Latifah challenge. You have to land in West Orange, New Jersey, where she's from. Otherwise, you automatically lose, and you're equivalent to Big Mama's house in Martin. I'm done.
We have a question.
All right.
What's the question?
What?
No. No, that's Larissa. That's headstand singing bitch. Don't entertain this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we got to entertain this. Wait, we have a serious question here from Haley. The question is, advice for those who are going to get back to volleyball after quarantine. Coaches, what's the first thing you'll do? Players, etc. This is a good question. I love this.
Danny, you talk about like these Instagram challenges. I mean, to Haley's point, one of them is like this pepper thing, right? Like Dante, you were just involved with one that like went from screen to screen. There was like 50 different people in it. I mean,
the Virtua Pepper.
yeah, and that's, you know, like
that's pretty cool.
That was a pretty good idea to like stay in the game, right?
Agree with it.
It's definitely cool to keep teams together. So I think that's definitely important during this time.
How much volleyball is going to be after quarantine, or is it going to be still this season, or are you going to be forced to go next season?
I mean, I guess it depends when that ends, right?
Well, you live on an island. We'll have tournaments.
Yeah, dude, we'll be outside, you know, like talking to other people. There's 17 people in your country. I don't know what you're gonna do.
I had a meeting today with my college team. I had a meeting yesterday with my club girls. The thing that I'm most concerned about, and this will help answer the question, is that my kids are going to get, number one, out of shape. They're going to get physically out of shape because they were on a good routine probably, and now that routine has been significantly broken. The first thing I'll do when I get back into the gym is like really fundamental ball control drills just to literally touch a volleyball. I actually went to Sci-Out the other day to play volleyball with the people in my house. I like went to jump surf and forgot how to jump surf. Like I hit the ball and I don't even think I made it anywhere near the net. There's going to be some really important ball touches that have to happen. Like we're not going to jump right back into sixes and try to go into like high level defenses. We're going to do a lot of ball control, especially for my 15s girls. For my college kids, we'll probably, you know, do some simple stuff, even as simple as like some hitting lines, like just like straight up hitting lines where the setters are getting good touches, like a butterfly type of thing. And we have to get reacclimated to volleyball. Like we got to get back into it. And I think that that's a really good question because some coaches are probably sitting here planning out like weeks and months of practice. And like, we don't even know when this is going to happen. So for me, fundamentals, which is like the obvious answer.
One thing that I was doing before I left for my last professional season this year was I was going to Sci-Out every morning before we started work, before we started private lessons and clinics or camps. I was setting about, I think 100, 200 balls a day. And I was just doing this to get into good shape, to get my touch ready for my departure to a next country. Yeah, but this is something that I was doing to keep my touch relevant while we were still in season, while we were still coaching and active every day. Like now, I haven't touched the ball other than in the yard in weeks. And so you're right, like Jay, it's gonna be almost a complete restart.
Before we continue with this topic, everyone who's joined, welcome. We are so lucky to have you guys, and we hope to continue doing this even after the coronavirus is done. This is inspired by that, obviously. But if you could do us a favor and go ahead and share this so that multiple people on your feed could see this, we'd love to have as many comments and questions as we can tonight. The show is called Always More Line, and it's a podcast just kind of basically talking about the current situation of the coronavirus, volleyball, and then definitely a bunch of ridiculous things that don't pertain to any of that. The current topic is what are we going to do about practices once we get back into the gym? Like, what are coaches going to do? What are players going to do? And how is that going to be different or the same to what routine you were doing before?
I think it's interesting, you know, from the club level, but also from the college level, because in the spring is when, you know, a lot of the girls that are returning are getting those touches and working kind of in small groups with their players and their coach to develop skills that hope to transfer to the fall. So right now we're in a kind of a sticky situation because we can't do that. So, you know, hopping into preseason is kind of like, you know, dealing with the whole new team because they haven't trained. So I think a big thing, especially to do now during this time while we are in quarantine is, you know, find ways to keep your players engaged with each other, you know, through Zoom chats or videos. Or even there's an app called House Party, which is pretty cool. It's similar to this, but House Party actually has games integrated in the system, so you can play heads up on that House Party app with everybody on the video. Jay said, you know, once we get back in the gym, it's kind of a little slow start, ball control, simple things, and then go on from there.
We got another question here from Tim Lork, all the way from Minnesota. Shout out to Tim Lork. Tim Lord plays on Team Freedom as a middle. His girlfriend, Erica, also plays professionally overseas. I'd love to have her on the show, Tim. If you guys have an opportunity to jump on, we'd love to talk to you guys, especially Erica, about her overseas experience and how it ended so abruptly. Tim's question, what can volleyball players be doing by themselves to stay in or try and stay in game shape, ready shape, I should say, mentally and physically? I actually had my girls do sort of like a little video on Zoom last night, and it worked really well. Use Zoom to your advantage because you could have a film session, share your screen. Coaches could have their kids watch a good amount of volleyball and go through different film sessions. So from a mental standpoint, I think you can really stay in tune with your game by watching a lot of film. Just watch volleyball. You know, I tell my girls all the time, watch Big Ten level volleyball, watch Olympic level volleyball, but also watch your age group level volleyball, you know, whether it be at nationals or at qualifiers. From a physical standpoint, I know my gym that I go to is doing online workouts. This is a crazy situation because this has forced companies to figure out how to be more useful online. And I think that that's so cool. You know, I don't have to go to the gym to work out anymore. I can just log onto my computer and do it in my room. That's really cool. So Tim, that's kind of my recommendation for younger athletes to stay ready to go. And then if you want to be really fundamental, just do a bunch of block touches and approaches in your house and make sure that stuff is still like crispy when we get back into the gym. If you have a basketball hoop outside of your house and you have capabilities of dunking, go outside and dunk every day off of 2 feet, off of 1 foot. That stuff is going to help your explosiveness. Setting a volleyball if you're a setter and just getting forearm touches if you're a libero or DS. These are all things that you can do all the time. And today was really nice weather in New Jersey. I don't know about other places, but if you went outside today and just peppered for, 45 minutes and try to get some touches, that's going to help, and we took those things for granted before we were capable of, we were just able to go to the gym and do this whenever we wanted. And now it's like, wow, we can't do that.
The physical stuff, that's all true. I mean, as we sit here on our couch, on our phones, our bodies and our muscles are deteriorating very slowly. So the more we can stay active, the better. If you want to get better at something, you have to set a goal to get better at it. And you have to define your goal very clearly, otherwise it's unreachable. One thing that I've found is helping me is watching film of myself, which is really hard to do because it's kind of cringeworthy and I don't like watching myself play, but you'll learn very quickly what your good habits are, what your bad habits are especially. And if you can channel that viewing of your own performance into a very cohesive list of goals, as soon as we get back outside and back in the gym, we can start to work towards it twice as fast than if we hadn't have prepared for that. So watch film of yourself.
Just to piggyback off that too, I think not only is this good for athletes, but for coaches as well. Right now there's so many companies doing free virtual clinics on Zoom that go over a wide range of topics, whether, I took one this week with Courtney Thompson, Olympic setter for the U.S. national team, and she just went over training the mental game for athletes. And so I think, there are so many resources out there now as for coaches to kind of sit back and kind of perfect our craft. So when this does blow over, we can kind of hit the ground running.
I'm going to let Dante take this next question from Pat. Pat Cronshaw from Delaware says, should athletes have to re-qualify for the 2021 Olympics? And Dante has an interesting take on this.
I would say that I have a pretty jaded perspective on this question, seeing as that my brother qualified for the Olympics. I would selfishly say no, that they shouldn't have to re-qualify. You already did it. And with the qualifying season I don't know about every sport, but with skateboarding, there was literally 2 or 3 months left with 4 or 5 contests within those couple months. And I would say no. Now, you can also take that as, well, if they have this time off, they're not going to be as sharp as they were going into all of this. But to be honest with you, coming from a personal standpoint, as far as like a skateboarder and playing volleyball as well, is that the only thing I've been doing since we've started this is skateboarding. So from that perspective, I would say that no, they shouldn't have to re-qualify. But I do understand the argument when it comes to saying that like they're not going to be as sharp or they're out of practice or they haven't been with their teams for X amount of time. So
the Australian national teams, they work their ass off to make their best opportunity to get into the Olympics for volleyball. And both the men's and women's have missed out, not qualifying, not being the best teams in the Asian region. I don't think that they should be forced to try and re-qualify or should get the second opportunity. Because if they do, you're going to have a whole load of new young guys being pushed in, or these old guys deciding to retire, having to be forced back into volleyball. And then these teams are going to be out of whack since, for example, this Australian team, they've retired their season. A lot of these older guys might be slowing down, retiring, and they're going to start trying to bring in a new generation of young guys. And if they try and re-qualify again now, it's going to have a really weird dynamic on the team. I don't think it's should happen. They should cut it off from when they were. Like, cut it off now. No one can try and re-qualify. If you're qualified already, you're in. Just keep practicing and get ready for it.
Kerry Walsh actually spoke out about this because they asked her, Kerry is a legendary player and she's also one of the oldest players that we have. So for players like her who are very nearly done, it's a difficult question to say, like, all right, you've qualified. This is probably your last Olympics ever. And then they pushed it back another year. And people were saying, well, what does this do to your preparation? Her response was pretty good. I encourage everybody to go to check that article out. I think it's on Team USA. Her basic response was, no, I'll treat this next year like the same way I treated my prep years. This is just an additional amount of time for me to continue my preparing regime.
Kerry, if you're watching this, Ryan did not call you old. He just meant, you were older-ish, and we love you.
She's in her prime, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what he meant by old. Old sounded like old, but he meant prime. I knew exactly what you meant, Ryan. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that.
I said the word prime, but I pronounced it old.
Yeah. What are your tips to get your team to buy into your coaching philosophy, and how do you hold them accountable virtually?
Do you want to talk a little bit more about the conference that you had with your team?
And this is a really good question. I think buying into your philosophy is almost one of those things that has to happen in the gym. That hard work, let's suffer together kind of mentality has to take place. So doing it virtually is going to be really, really hard. But if you have a video group chat on Zoom, like once a week or twice a week, and all of your kids show up for it and they all engage and they're all in, that's awesome, because a lot of these kids don't speak up. They don't, talk much. And this is going to force them to do that because they don't have the ability to show action necessarily on the court. Another thing is, I think you should require your kids to submit a weekly update as to what they're doing for volleyball. So if they're watching film, are they peppering outside? Are they running? Are they lifting? Are they working on their plyo workouts? Have them submit what they're doing to you in a detailed sense, because if they say something like, I've only been watching Netflix and I did like a couple push-ups, then they're definitely not buying into the philosophy. I know Angie well, and I know that she would not be okay with that. Another thing is, have them critique their own film. Have them watch a game where they played not so great, statistically speaking, and have them break down why they feel like they weren't successful in that game, and have them send that to you. Hey, in this match, I just really feel like I wasn't transitioning great, so my hitting suffered because of it. Or maybe a setter will say something along the lines of, like, I wasn't breaking the target quick enough, so I was struggling with the tighter balls. These are really specific things that can't necessarily be made up. Now, obviously, you have to have enough time as a coach to watch the videos of all of your kids, but we got nothing but time at this point. Sue Riley says, I know that outdoor is approaching. Do you think that indoor will continue after quarantine, like more tournaments, or people will jump right into outdoor and wait for indoor next season?
I would definitely agree. As a player, as most of us do, both indoor and outdoor, I would say that outdoor is going to start right up as soon as this is over, and we're going to jump right into that. And I say that just because of like the draw aspect, because a lot of indoor tournaments are tournaments that you do have to travel for, and you do have to spend a little more money doing it if you're doing it at a high capacity. A lot of the outdoor scene is within an hour, 45 minutes to wherever you're located, and as the weather gets warmer, it would kind of only feel right. It would only feel right to be outside doing that instead of it being 90 out and then you're going into a 75-degree gym.
Here's an interesting question, Dante, because they have grass nationals now. I don't know if our viewers know that this exists. In the United States of America, there is grass nationals now. And where is it this year?
I think Nashville. I think it's in Nashville.
Nashville, yeah.
So
that's what it was last year.
And it's also in an odd time because it's in September, which is college volleyball season for most coaches and players. So it's interesting, but they still had a great turnout apparently. And I think grass nationals is a fantastic idea. I love it. I just don't like when it is because I can't participate in it, and that's so selfish. Having that as a motivator is going to motivate people to get into the outdoor game quicker, which touches on Suzanne's point. I think with this scenario of indoor tournaments being canceled, I think people are going to jump right into outdoor. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope we still get an extended indoor season, and then we kind of delay the outdoor season this year. We're going to talk about some outdoor stuff a little bit later on, especially AVP stuff. We're going to have Chris Vaughn back on at some point. We're going to get to Mike Mon here. What do you think of this first thing you thought when you saw me playing volleyball Facebook post that's going on? Mike, we just did a video before this one cut out on the first thing you thought when you saw me play volleyball on Facebook thing, and I vented for about 15 seconds how much I hated it. I do like that people are sharing memories. I love that people have good memories of each other. I just hated that my entire news feed was filled with that today, especially because I got to be honest with you, I don't know like 60% of the people on my Facebook. I wanted to chime in and read some of the comments and partake, but I didn't know some of the people, so I felt like an idiot. So that's probably why I'm upset about it. But we are going to read some more of those tonight as we go down the news feed here.
I'm going to insert myself really quick for Tim Lurk's question. He's asking about the best brand of volleyball. I think we can go over this
I like that.
quick. There's a lot of brands, and everybody kind of has like a personal connection to one of them. Like whenever someone introduces a new ball, there's always this hysteria about like, oh, I like the old ball, and people are like, I like the new ball.
The Amazon Basics volleyball.
Yes. My favorite volleyball for indoor is the new Mikasa.
I actually like this one.
I love this ball. I just got back from Slovakia. They played with it, and it's excellent. It responds so well to the game. I prefer it to the old Mikasa, like a lot. I think the U.S. they're loving this Molten Flista-Tech for indoor ball, and which is good.
Yeah.
I think
Dante loves that ball.
I think that's a total upgrade from the Pro Touch. The only thing good about the Pro Touch is that it bounced 3 times higher than how hard you hit it. And
I actually looked good when I was fighting.
Yeah, and also when you hit someone in the face, you could see the word molten on their forehead for like the next 10 minutes. Like those are the only 2 things.
They were branded.
Good about that ball. It was branding. I don't know if you guys have an opinion about this. The new AVP ball, like that gold and black looking thing, I've never touched this ball. I don't know what it's like. Does anybody know what that's like?
It's the same.
The same as the other ones?
Different color.
The best ball is the newest Mikasa. Newest one. Mostly yellow panels, some small blue guys. That's it.
It's a good
I'm
mix.
not gonna lie, it's not that bad. Like it's not that bad.
No,
in comparison to the Molten to the old like swirled.
Yeah,
Mikasa.
definitely better than that
one. Definitely.
That was tough. That thing was slippery. It moved like crazy. I went to an NBA event in Chicago and we played Pineapple, and Lloyd Ball served that ball at me with topspin. And it was supposed to hit the 9-foot line, and it floated to the 29-foot line, and it hit me in the neck, and then hit Bez in the forehead. So I don't like that ball. I love Lloyd Ball. I don't like that ball, but I like the new one. The new one's cool.
Yeah, Pat. I know you're mostly an outdoor player, so I wish I could speak more to the new AVP ball and the NVL ball back in the day, but. I don't know. Indoor is very much my area of expertise, and Mikasa all the way. Those guys have been ahead of the game all the time. So
Austin Ryan says the U.S. will use the ball from whoever gives them the most money. Austin,
you're probably right.
I mean, you're probably right. They have a partnership, especially in NCAA, with the Molten ball. But now the NVA, and I don't know about the VLA, but the NVA has a partnership with Mikasa. So yeah, I mean that's an example of whoever's going to pay us. Like that's the ball that we'll go with. So I think that's true. If I have an opinion, and I shouldn't, I think that the best ball is the Mikasa one. I just think that comparably it's the better ball. But you're right. I mean, if they said no, Walmart has given us millions to use their white ball on shelf 3, aisle 7. Like, yeah, maybe USA.
Yeah. We're going to use whatever ball we get the most money from. The NCAA has been the most consistent throughout this. I think they're the longest tenure ball in the U.S. for any level. That ain't going to change, especially for women, because there's a lot of money invested in that at this point.
Molten also throws a pretty good party at the AVCA convention. So, I mean, unless you guys want that to go away, I'd say let's stick with Molten in the NCAA.
Ian says it looks like Dante McCoy is playing the clarinet.
Jay, I don't know if you touched on this. I stepped out of the room for a second, but I mean, we have the VLA, we have the NVA coming up, right? Both of them are attempting to kind of be the same thing. They want to be a pro league, and I love that. I love that there's so much potential interest in this idea that we actually have 2 competing leagues. That's really good to spur competition, good to spur what we want to happen. Do you think that if both leagues are successful, that a merger could take place? I mean, wouldn't that be better for everyone?
Technically, I can't answer one of those questions, but I will answer the other one. No, there's not going to be a merger.
Really?
And yeah, no, there's not going to be a merger. There's some really important things that are happening from a USA Volleyball standpoint that I think will allow for a league to take place in the U.S. I think you're onto something when you say, like, we're all in it for the same reasons. We are. We all feel like it's necessary for a professional league to exist, men and women. It should exist in the United States. I also think, and I'm going to take a step further than this, I also think a professional league that has multiple levels needs to exist.
We see this in Europe, right? They have their A league, their B league, like,
Sure.
and most of them are paid. It's not even like only the top league is paid.
There's probably somewhere around 5% of the country could play at the highest level. 5%, less than 5% of volleyball players in the country could play at the highest levels. I would say there's a good percentage of players who would play in what we would consider like our second league that would love to do this as a second job / like on the weekends and train once or twice a week. And then there's so many coaches out there that would love to coach at that level just as a hobby. The questions that come up are where and who's going to pay for it and what stadiums will we play in and all those things. And I think those questions don't necessarily need to be asked right now. You know, I think we have a men's tournament at Pop Idell ran by Dave Lockwood every year, which is actually canceled for the first time this year since World War II. That tournament is a really high-level tournament. And if you compare that to some other countries and their second division, that tournament would be as competitive, if not more competitive. And it's just a bunch of dudes showing up at Kutztown University on a Saturday playing ball. So we're already doing it. We're just not doing it with the recognition it deserves. But I do think that the NBA and the VLA being separate is not a bad thing right now. I think the NBA and the ABA were separate for a long time, and it ended up working itself out.
So that's kind of the inspiration for my question is, at the moment, I think it's good for competition. It's good to stimulate that growth. But
sure,
eventually, if both are pretty successful, I don't know if you're in a position to speak about this because you are working in the NBA, but do you think that potentially at some point it just might be in the best interest of the sport for them to join?
For sure. I think everybody that you talk to would say that a 12 to 16 team professional league in the United States is necessary. And the only way that's going to happen is if there's one league. If there's two leagues, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So yes, I do think that, you know, years down the road, we are going to have to be on the same page about this. But I don't think it's going to happen with a collective mesh. I think it's going to be more along the lines of one league fails or the other doesn't work out, so on and so forth, and then those players kind of just get consolidated. I might even get Bill Lee on here for a call one night, the owner and CEO of the NBA, because he's a good guy to talk about these things and kind of what he feels is necessary.
Austin has a take on that in the comments.
Let's work on one of them being successful before we talk about two. Yeah, that's the truth is neither one of them is successful at this point. And what I mean by that is the NBA has ran consecutively now for 3 seasons. So that is a success to a certain extent. But like maintaining teams that get a consistent following, we're not there yet. And this is the beginning of something really special. The NBA really, really struggled to get fans at first in the 1940s. They had a hard time getting fans to watch basketball because everybody was all about baseball. And that will change just like every other sport changes. It's going to take some time. Austin, I agree. Let's get one to work before we get two to work.
What was the what's the original question here, just so I can catch up?
The original question was, does Carlo Edra coach Team Freedom, or does he just sit at home and play video games?
Yeah.
I really wish I stayed at home to play video games. That's like the one thing I wish I could do.
This is like the first AML live stream question and answer, which is pretty exciting. Carlo, we were just talking about the NBA. There was a question about like what's going to happen with it this year. I think originally the question was like, with the current virus situation, like, is there going to be a season this year? And I mean, my personal opinion is no. I don't see any reason why they should continue having a season. It's not a long season to begin with. I mean, you look at bigger operations that are shutting down further in advance than the NBA season lasts. So, of course, that's up to them. My non-expert opinion is that it's...
Well, Ryan, shit you!
Yeah, I'll just go I'll sit out. I'll sit on the bench.
That is not your decision to make. That's me and Justin's. Okay?
Oh yeah, sorry, coach.
We're gonna move on here, and I want to bring up another topic that I think is important, because while we're on the professional conversation, I would really, really, really love it if a professional women's league existed.
100%.
I know that there are some of our female volleyball friends on here tonight listening and watching. I would love for somebody to comment on that and say what they think that would take. I also think that we have who brought this up the other night? I think it was Kat. She said,
Yep.
Wisconsin and Nebraska, they have 10,000 fans watching their matches in college. Like, there are people watching volleyball. It's on ESPN now. The national championships are on ESPN. Like, it's a recognized sport. So I would love for some ladies to chime in tonight, and let's talk a little bit more about that. So, Riley, what are your thoughts on this year's USAB Adult Nationals? Ryan, you're not allowed to comment on this because your pessimism is going to kill me. I'm going to let Danny talk about USAB Nationals and what he thinks.
Like I mentioned previously, USAB really hasn't canceled any of their own event per se. They postponed the 18s qualifier. But I think as far as adults, that decision to cancel it would, in my opinion, would come pretty late. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger on that right now. Obviously, we all hope it runs, but, we obviously need to make sure that it's in the safest conditions.
I was on the USAB website yesterday. Actually, it might have been today. I don't know what day it is. For men's AA, there was already 39 teams registered to play. And in March, that's a pretty big number. That's kind of exciting. We need to make it happen, people. And if it doesn't happen, we need to make it happen somewhere else. We might need to reach out to our buddy Brett with Michigan and see if he'll run like a midsummer Doble tournament. See if we can get a Doble tournament going in the middle of summer.
To expand on that question, it could be interpreted broadly in the sense of like what are my thoughts on that tournament? I fucking love that tournament, and I hope that it happens because it's such an amazing event every year. We get all these teams, all these players from all over the world. I mean, Freedom, like ourselves, we invite 2 or 3 internationals every year. And I think it's such a great way for us. Yeah, Phil is one of the guys. We brought his ass over from Australia. Phil, why don't you say a little bit about what it's like to come to that tournament, not having ever been there? And what was your first impression of nationals?
I had heard of PVL a couple of years ago. One of the coaches back in Australia, Luke Reynolds, he worked with Team Pineapple when PVL was still a thing. So I was speaking to him about that back then, and met Ryan in the UK and got onto it and came over a couple of years back. I have seen lots of people playing volleyball, but I've never once seen 30 courts under one roof and everyone is playing. Growing up in Australia, volleyball community is so small. The whole state of Victoria, the league had 7 teams in the top division. Everyone knew everyone. We don't have an Australian club championships. I didn't realize there would be so many teams participating. It was just huge. And it's still good volleyball.
I mean, one of the first things when I tell people from overseas, we have this tournament every year, one of the first things I do is I show them a picture of the convention centers, especially when we go to juniors tournaments are bigger, right? We went to Big South one year with Side Out. That tournament was insanely big. And just the site of a convention center, and you can see nearly 100 courts in one picture. We are privileged to be able to put on an event like that. I just hope that we can definitely, 1, have it again this year, but 2, I'm an advocate of getting internationals to come and have that experience as well.
I want to talk about a topic that is really, really, really important. And this is kind of for any club coaches / college coaches is on here, or even parents that are watching. What if your high school senior, male or female, did not get to sign with a school and is now in this situation where they were hoping to sign with a college, this month, or jump onto a team pretty late, and they were kind of waiting to see what opportunities came, and then all of a sudden, the coronavirus hits, and now it's almost impossible to go to a campus and get that experience of being on an official visit. What should we be recommended to the parents and players that are not recruited yet? And maybe there should be some sort of database or website or, I don't know, Facebook page where these athletes can go on and say, hey, I'm a 2020 graduate. I'm not recruited yet. I'd still love to play volleyball. So we're going to have Carlo talk a little bit about that, and then as well as Danny.
When it comes to, us personally, we had our campus visits for our big recruits scheduled for March, and it was really disheartening for us considering we had to cancel all of them, and we did lose a good amount of those guys because they were on campus visits earlier and they had to make their decision without giving us kind of our way to pitch NJCU to these guys. So I think when it comes to them, like especially the guys that don't have a high school senior season to go to, because a lot of the coaches do go out to watch all those high school matches and all tournaments. You're going to get these guys that haven't been put on squad yet, and you're going to grab them last minute. It takes a little bit of the player and maybe the parents to be more proactive when it comes to this. You can easily go on Wikipedia. You can go on Google. There's so many sites where you could just kind of type in division you want to go to or colleges that offer volleyball. Have some highlight film or footage of you playing ready to go, and start contacting coaches on your own if you're kind of worried about getting out there, because you know you can put yourself on NCSA. That's where me personally I'm going to look for guys. You know, it is hard for us coaches to go out and see people, but you know, just because this is going on doesn't mean that there's no way for you guys to reach out to us.
Speaking about reaching out to coaches, what do you college coaches want to see from players? Do you want to see highlights videos with all their bounces and stuff, or is it more like full game, full sets?
If you give me a highlight reel, I'm going to look at it and I'm kind of going to take it with a grain of salt. Even I can put footage of myself together and make myself look like an amazing volleyball player. I kind of hate that some of you guys are smiling at that. But if you give me raw footage, you can kind of see what kind of player you are. We get more information on, you know, points that you're not particularly putting the ball away. We can see how you handle certain sets, but highlights are just showing you the best that you can possibly be. Highlights are how you bring people in. It's like going on a date. When you first meet a girl, you're most likely not yourself 100% yet. You're showing the best version of yourself. And then once you get that girl or guy to like you, then you start to show yourself.
Then they realize that you can't pass.
Exactly.
Have you guys ever tried to eat one cheese ball?
Impossible. The actual lid won't let you do that.
Shameless plug. One of the things that I do on the side is I make films for players that want to play in college or want to play pro. I make highlight films. I make them look good. But one thing that I tell them to do, and you as a college coach, I want to know if you think this is a good idea. We create a highlight film, but I also sort of tell them that they need to give me a full match film that they think is representative of them. And the two go together. So when they send this file off, it's a folder with a highlight film and a full match film.
That would be perfect. Because when we're watching these highlight films, we're also trying to break down, you know, as much as we can get. We're like, all right, so he's not really showing any ball control footage. So now we're thinking, is he trying to hide something here? Or there's no blocking here. It's just all swinging. Maybe he's just somebody that can do that. But if you send us that raw footage, it gives us more information. I mean, it's not going to make us go from, oh yeah, we got to stop recruiting this guy because we saw the raw footage and he can't do this, he can't do that. If there's some potential there and something to work with, we'll actively recruit you. I guess coaches have a little bit of an ego, because like when you see a player play for another team and you see they're not getting his potential out, in your head you go, if I had that guy, I could probably make him a way better player. You see a guy that can just bang bouncing balls and he's not really that good a passer, in your head you're going, I'm going to teach this guy how to pass, and he's going to be a baller after he's done with me.
I want to shout out everybody who's watching us. I also want to shout out everyone who's watching us and not saying anything. Say things. I just scrolled through like 4 people on my Facebook that said, when you first saw me play volleyball, what were your thoughts? And I didn't know all 4 of them. I need to reevaluate my Facebook.
Read some names. Maybe we know some.
No, because that is really going to put me on the spot. I'm not doing that. No. Can we talk about that for a second? Do you guys accept friend requests? Like, do you look at their page first?
I'm going to answer this question.
Mutual friends?
What you do is you look at the mutual friend count. You look at a couple of them, and then you say, this person's safe. That's it.
Safe.
No, if you have no people, no friends in common, that's a little fishy. And if you only got one picture on your page,
get your one mutual friend ass out of here.
Yeah, nobody wants it.
I'm so bad.
You've been scrolling for 10 minutes. You haven't brought a single name up.
No.
Well, Facebook maxes out at 5,000. You can't have more than 5,000 friends on a Facebook account.
But like in life too, like if you have
I'm halfway there.
Friends, like people just become invisible. It's like an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Listen, There's one thing I know about Hispanics, and this is not racist at all. It's just one thing I've experienced. They are absolutely germaphobes. Hispanics hate germs. I had a friend growing up. His name was Stuart Lopez. He would not allow me to drink out of his water bottle at practice after we ran 12 diving suicides because my lip had germs on it.
Get your own damn water.
Danny, can you confirm this, please?
I can confirm that to a certain extent. I think we as Hispanics, we don't really want to share germs, but I also think that we rely heavily, especially in Puerto Rico, and I think most Hispanic communities rely on Vicks, right? This is our savior during a crisis like this. Vicks Vapor Rub, and anybody who knows me knows that I always travel, especially to overnights, with Vicks because it's a very useful tool. It's not an ad, but it does help you if you have trouble sleeping at night. Just put some Vicks on, you'll be good to go.
Vicks, if you are listening, we would totally take a sponsor.
Sponsorship.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
If you're listening, Vicks, please listen to me. Every night when I'm at an overnight tournament with Daniel Altamar, he cannot go to sleep without sleeping next to his Vicks. It goes me, Vicks, Daniel Altamar, right in the middle of us on the pillow, and he rubs it on his nose 3 to 4 times throughout the night. And if that doesn't happen, then he can't sleep. If we don't have Vicks and we're at a hotel, we better find a 24-hour CVS.
You're right.
Because it's not happening.
How do you feel about the Vicks? You like using it?
Let me tell you something. I got to be honest. I was a hater. And then one night, all of a sudden, I'm in a hotel room, and I got stuffy.
With who? With who? Who was you in the hotel room?
And I said, let me get some Vicks.
And
he goes,
oh.
You
I've been waiting for you at the door.
And now, Justin, you have a, what is it, like a ventilator? What are those things that spray?
A humidifier that sprays out Vicks, but don't tell Danny.
See?
I've just scrolled for 11 minutes and can't
Someone
find one
else
of these
scroll.
things.
Someone else take the scroll because Justin knows 0 people.
Guys, I just got 4 friend requests since we've been on the show. Should I just confirm or should I do research?
Confirm all of them.
Confirm.
Well, you're already down the wrong path.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I got a friend
rolling.
request today from somebody, and we had one mutual friend in common, and I accepted it. I was curious because the page looked sketchy. But once I accepted it, it looked like the page was on private.
You ever receive a spam message from someone? You're like, that's a spam. And then they don't know that it's happening. That's happening to you right now.
How do you guys feel about green olives?
Hate them.
All olives are good.
Olives are shit.
I don't like olives.
I don't eat vegetables, period. So, that's that.
I don't eat vegetables, but olive. Now that we're talking about this more, I like this status thing. I just hated seeing 1 million of them on my Facebook this morning.
Well, it was the same thing as that "until tomorrow" trend the other day on Instagram.
Wait, what was that?
They had to put a very, I don't know, ugly or embarrassing picture of them until tomorrow, and then they delete it. But it freaked me out because everybody on my Instagram at 10 o'clock at night when I logged on were posting these horrendous pictures with the caption "until tomorrow." And I thought maybe they were dying tomorrow. Like everybody was dead. The world was ending. I didn't know what was happening.
I got 2 good stories about 2 guys on here. So Justin was like 16, 17.
Yeah.
So this little thug-ass kid wearing his Bayonne varsity jacket comes up to me. Like, there was no way Justin was the height he was now back then. So he comes up to me. He's like, hey, what's up, coach? I just want to let you know I'm going to be playing for you next season. And I was like, oh, sweet. All right. And I noticed his varsity jacket said OH on it. And I was like, what position do you play? And he was like, hey, I'm an outside. I completely snap judged him. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm going, there's no way this guy is ever going to hit for me. My brother, who was also, he played for JP Stevens, they were going to go play Bayonne. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me go watch this kid play. So I go to the gym, shake Justin's hand, and they're about to get their 5-minute warm-up to go swing. Justin jumps, and I'm just staring at the air for about 10 seconds, wondering when this dude is going to land. So I'm just standing there, and I'm just like, what the hell did I just see? And taught me a huge lesson on never judge a book by its cover. But I'm pretty sure that's not the first time Justin has ever heard anyone judge him like that before.
I really appreciate you saying that because I don't jump at all anymore. In fact, I eat cheese balls. I do remember that, actually. And I remember after that game, you were talking to my high school coach because I don't think you were allowed to talk to me. And that person, Chris, it was your brother actually, came up to me and was like, dude, you got to come play with me next year. And I actually felt like for the first time in my volleyball career, like I could maybe be a hitter. You know, like all the other recruiting trips before that were like, you got to be a libero, you got to be a DS, you got to be a center. So I appreciate that story. What's the other one you had?
First time I ever met Ryan was at a NJIT open gym. And I remember seeing him play because I was recruiting. And I believe, Ryan, you played at the Super 6, right, with Cinnaminson?
Yes.
I remember seeing him. And the one kid that stuck out was Dan Christmas, just because his last name was Christmas. How is that never going to stick out?
And he's a redhead, like it was perfect.
So Ryan comes to this open gym, and our friend Rob Griffiths, we have a team all set up, and he's like, oh, yeah, I got this guy here, Ryan Kenny. If you don't mind, like, splitting some time with him, he's actually a pretty good setter. And I looked at Ryan. I was just like, this guy's an outside hitter. What the hell are you talking about? I'm not letting him set with me. Eventually, you know, I'm just such a kind-hearted guy. I was like, yeah, Ryan can split reps with me. But I don't think you ever knew that. Like when Rob first told me that, I was like, this guy's an outside hitter. To everyone's knowledge now, you've been setting for God knows how long, and you've been playing pro for so long. So I'm just a terrible judge of volleyball players.
I do remember meeting you and someone saying like, it's probably Rob, like, you want to set? And I was like, well, yeah. And you being the setter of the team we're going to play on, I was kind of like, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I don't know a lot of people. At that time of my life, I had come out of high school as an outside hitter, and I had made this like executive decision that if my volleyball career is going to not only continue but get better, I'm going to have to change positions. I'm too small. Like I don't jump that high. I'm an okay attacker, but I'm not going to make it at the level that I want to play at if I stay in that position. So I made the decision to change, to start setting. And that was one of the first exposures to, you know, playing with open gyms and like traveling around Jersey, trying to get my feet wet as becoming a setter. I had met Rob very recently, but he sort of pushed me like, no, like you should go set. Like, I want you to do it. I was like, okay, you were kind enough to let me do that. And I have no recollection of my performance. I feel like I was probably a disaster, but I'm just thankful that you guys, you know, like welcomed me onto that, an open gym of guys that I really didn't know whose ability was far above mine. I don't know if I would point to that specifically as an influential point, but yeah, like moments like that is what inspired me to keep pushing, keep working, keep trying to get better. So I have you to thank, you know, for maybe that day alone, like letting me step in.
And maybe one day, Ryan, you'll your abilities will get to almost about what mine are. So
I want to take a little break here because we have a special guest on. Ian Capp's here with us. What's up, guys? Ryan, I think we should get Nancy Kenny on here to do an interview. I think she needs to be interviewed. Is she in the next room?
Is she commenting? What's going on?
Oh.
Is she? Mom!
By the way, shout out to Piotr Nebiotko on the shout out for me and Carlo and Ryan, the interview that he did on NJ Power Ranking.
He's an incredible player out of NJIT. Check the comments. He put the article in his comment video, so check it out. Give him a follow. He's a good player, and he's going to go pro. Carlo, talk a little bit like Ian's in your conference. This kid is a stud setter. Like, we could talk about, oh, they have this attacker, or this libero is really good at passing. But when there's a setter on the rotation that is like absolutely running the entire game, you have to coach against this guy. What are you doing to prepare against a setter like that?
What you need against a dude like him is to have disciplined middles and guys that are just going to attack after they see him make his move. Because Ian, what really pisses me off about him, he's one of those setters that will have the same point of contact if he's going outside, middle, or right side. Some of these setters you see out there, watching these guys warm up, you'll learn so much about them on where they're going to go with the ball just off of a hitting line. But Ian is just like, I'm just going to tell the middles, hey, we've got to remain patient, because if they inch any which way, Ian's probably going to go the other way. And that back set, while we're on the topic of that, of the Facebook, first thing you thought of when you saw him, I remember seeing him back set, and I was like, what
I'm here. from here. Chasing a ball can set a back ball from here.
Another like shout out, Matt Elias from Team Freedom also has one of the most ridiculous back sets I've ever seen. You're not gonna know it's coming. You're like, oh, he's going outside. His hands are no. Oh, sorry.
I mean, you talk about setters that perform at the highest level. I mean, it's a very unique position, right? Phil and I, we've done this experiment. We show film of serve, reception, and as the ball goes into the setter's hands, we pause the video and we say, like, where's he going? What you find very consistently at the high level is it's very difficult to tell where the ball is going to go because that contact point is so isolated. You talk about blockers trying to read the play. It's nearly impossible when you're running a quick in-system offense.
Middles, man, stay patient. Make sure that first step is as explosive as it can be. I always refer to Mighty Ducks 3. Please tell me I'm not dating myself. Have you guys seen Mighty Ducks 3? Oh, no.
No. I've seen 1 and 2. I haven't seen the third one.
Good night, guys. I'm out of here. He kept telling the Conway, the star of the team, always make them make the first move. Because if you make the move, you've already lost the bet. So guys like Ian, it's literally I'm going to be watching film, and you're just going to see me staring at the TV. And if you had the view of me from the TV, it's just going like this. What am I going to do? What against that guy?
Playing abroad, every setter is going to make you look stupid. So the solution to that, we could talk about blocking footwork and trying to read the attackers and all that. But it's really interesting. You have to take a step outside of that and say, what was our serve like? Did we serve well enough so that Ian Capp isn't in the perfect spot to make a decision? And that's kind of what it comes down to when you get to these higher levels. Who's serving better? Who's passing better? And when you get a good setter on court, they're going to make plays. They're going to embarrass you if you don't put some pressure from the line. Serve and pass is what wins matches.
Everything in volleyball is a skill, but there's 2 art forms, blocking and setting. There's some finesse about it that just makes you stand out so much more than everyone else. And you're talking about these top-level setters all taking the ball in the same spot, throwing it out in every which way, and it's all exactly the same. And it really is. It's an art form. I watch so much video. Like I scout all my games and all the other teams here. One of the main things I track is setter tendencies. Bad ball, bad pass, out of system, where they go when they're running forward. Setters have tendencies. They all follow the same routine kind of thing. And then the higher the level it is, the less of a routine it becomes. You're saying you're watching him like, what am I supposed to do? Either he's doing a fantastic job and setting at a really high level, or there's just one key little bit of information that you just haven't been able to see yet because it's hidden away in his art.
Dave Schreiber's he's leaving a comment in the chat. Hashtag Maroof, the Iranian national team Saeed Maroof. Yeah, he's only about 6 foot, probably no more than that. This guy's one of the best setters in the world, and he's in his 30s as well. He's one of those dudes that's like, his touch is so pristine, and he's so consistent as far as his movements.
When you watch YouTube film of him, let's throw in Christensen in there, Resende, all those setters, when you see these incredible sets, it comes to a point where I'm not even impressed by it anymore because I kind of figured that they do that so often that it's the norm for them. If I pull something like that off, I'm probably going, oh my God, how did he do that? But those guys, it's not even surprising anymore. That's just what they do on the plane.
You see a setter like Bruno or Luciano De Cecco from Argentina. You just see that they're on the court, and you're like, all right, some shit's about to happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Ian Capp said an interesting thing that I want to talk a little bit about, which is that he's not the tallest player, right? Which most of us aren't. I mean, he's 6 foot, maybe a little bit plus. One of his proudest accomplishments in the game is his serve. He doesn't have the luxury of being 6'8" and being able to hit a spin serve on a downward trajectory. As we talked about before, serve and pass is the name of the game. That's how we win matches, really. That is the make or break as far as I'm concerned. You could have an average player, average outside attacker, average passer. Maybe he's just okay. But this person has a good serve. They're on the court.
What is going to be considered a good serve? If we're talking jump serves, where is that fine line between consistent and aggressive?
You want both, but of course that's 10 out of 10 serve, right? Maybe as a coach, right, Carlo, that's the trade-off. Maybe you have the opportunity to make a serving sub, and you can choose, okay, I got this guy who has a very consistent serve. I'm pretty sure it's going to go in. We're going to get a chance to play defense. Or I got this kid who's like mostly ace or error. And, you know, right now it's 23-22. Who am I going to go with here to make that serving sub? What do I want from this serve?
Well, we actually, I'm pretty sure Mikey, Coach Mikey does this for the women's team too, but he has a tracking sheet during the matches. And it basically tells you what everyone's side out rate is depending on what rotation they're in. And say like towards the end of the game, or we want a serving sub in there and they're struggling to get out of this rotation. So I'm looking for the guy on my team that has a consistent serve and a little bit of juice on it, maybe get him out of system. But if I'm looking for aggressive, maybe I put that in against their best rotation because we're probably going ace or error against that. I guess it's just situational. I guess that's part of the chess game that is being a coach. It's figuring out the situation, coming up with your gut instinct or whatever the numbers are telling you, and just hope it works out. Because for all you know, you get that consistent guy in there. He makes a service error, or like uncharacteristic service error. Now your idea just went out the window.
You guys are yelling, and it's really hurting my ears.